What you're doing in a college education is preparing for change over the course of your life in ways that you will never be able to anticipate. Stuff happens, life happens, pandemics happen. What we're doing in building critical thinking, creative, intellectual flexibility skills is going to help you face whatever you end up facing over the course of your career. The scope and scale of work that's happening here is extraordinary. It's a spectrum of projects and approaches that are addressing every wicked problem that the 21st century is facing. Bringing the depth of humanistic training to the solution of these problems is the way they'll get solved.
Science is so important because so much about our world is being driven by what we've learned from the sciences. But doing the science doesn't necessarily translate into benefit for society until we actually do the work of translating science for the benefit of society. And that's what the humanities do uniquely well. Let's face it, climate change is pretty scary stuff, right? I have children, I hope to have grandchildren, and I want to make sure that the world I leave for my children and my grandchildren is a world that they can prosper in. But we've got some real challenges to make that a reality. I am super proud of the work that me and my colleagues and our students are doing because we've proven that the work we're doing is helping to open up Americans' minds to this reality and help them better understand the actions that they individually can take, and more importantly, that we collectively can take to better respond to those threats.
So industrial organizational psychology is I like to explain it as the bridge between the business world and the psychology world. We do study attitudes, emotions, and behaviors in the work context. And we study all these dynamics and try to understand employees, their attitudes, emotions, and behaviors. And we try to predict positive work experiences and hopefully help facilitate making that happen. A lot of times we try to see, what are there opportunities in the community to bridge the learning that's happening in the classroom with the needs of organizations around us. This summer we had, a friend of the program reach out. She was tasked with setting up a training and development for her startup organization. I reached out back to her and said, we have a class called Employee Selection, and students are actually tasked with creating job descriptions, and this would be an amazing experiential learning opportunity for students in the class. And they were really blown away with how much knowledge and expertise was just be able to be shared across the two, because they had a need, and it was a need that our students and our program was able to fill. Mason, from the beginning, has always been about bridging the learning in the classroom with the world around us.
It's incredibly important to apply science to the study of policing. Criminologists are very much focused on making impacts in their community. In particular, how to reduce crime, how to reduce recidivism, how to improve police services in the community. And you just don't know those answers unless you actually systematically study them. Being a social scientist, you really need to partner with organizations, groups, people in order to really understand the phenomenon that you're studying, and also think about how would you go about making things better. It's also important to me that Mason is innovative and forward-thinking in the way it approaches its science. It's willing to try out new things. It's willing to hire somebody who used to be a police officer and now is a criminologist to say, what do you think about this issue? So Mason is known for that, and I'm incredibly proud of being a part of this community. We work on some of the most important questions of the day.
People care about the past because they understand that the past has shaped who they are and has shaped the communities that they are a part of. History is not something where there's a single authority. When we put things up online, we will hear back from people who say, have you thought about this? Here's a part of the story that maybe you're missing. That's a part of our democratic purpose of hearing from people and discussing, sometimes even contesting, what the history was so that we can think about that together. We offer them freely because that's a way of addressing the inequality in education and the questions of access to good histories that is at the core of our mission. George Mason University cultivates that capacity for innovative scholarship and that is willing to think outside the existing forms in order to do the kinds of scholarship and work that really matter to people.
George Mason University has made significant investments in undergraduate research. In 2021, we were responding to a call by an author named Richard Rothstein, who wrote a book called The Color of Law. He wrote an op-ed called The Black Lives Next Door, in which he asked everyday citizens to do research on the role of racism and segregation in creating their own communities. And so we read that op-ed and decided that it would be great for students to be able to understand the role of racism and segregation in the creation of George Mason University. All of these students came from different disciplines. They brought different perspectives, and they were so intellectually curious about the work. It is so important for undergraduates to be involved in research. In my opinion, from day one, it really helps them to understand the work that academics do and to understand the practical applications of academic research.
The Black Lives Next Door project examined nearby residents who lived in the area years before Mason was founded.
When people walk or drive down School Street in Fairfax City, few probably think twice about what its name represents. But an exhaustive research project just conducted by George Mason University students may change that.
You got to know where you came from in its entirety, regardless of how ugly and gritty the truth may be.
The Center for Mason Legacies is where this project has its origins, and it is connected to the Enslaved Children of George Mason project that resulted in our beautiful memorial on campus. One of the taglines of the Center for Mason Legacies is that we're looking at history that's hidden in plain sight, that are around us as we speak, but that we don't talk about as a community.
So many questions of our day-to-day lives come from social sciences and from the humanities. These are questions that impact everyday individuals and communities that we live in. How can we live peacefully? How do we have good education? How do we interact with each other in ways that is civil? And studying these things are incredibly important.
We approach complex projects with curiosity and intellectual flexibility.
Our teaching, research, and service extends beyond our region to our nation and our world.
We foster partnerships and we thrive on collaboration.
We are committed to leading changes that strengthen our communities.
At the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, we offer students limitless possibilities.